Welcome back. Another exciting day at Steamhead. The time zone clock is on test in our room. Woke us up at 6:20 this morning without any problems, so I'm really pleased. Going to keep testing that for about a week just to make sure there are no little glitches or anything odd happening, so that's great. A few months ago I was contacted by Dan, who runs a production company and wants to make Doctor Who series, mini Doctor Who series. Very exciting. And he was talking about how to build the TARDIS and things like that, which is a lovely project to get involved with. I'm going to start making the dematerialize lever, which sets the TARDIS in motion. That's really exciting. So Dan's done a load of drawings, amazing visuals on Sketchup. Here's the first bit to cut out. This is going to be out of 10mm acrylic, which is the main gear. As always, I'm going to cut the 10mm acrylic out with it sitting on a piece of card, white card, because it cuts so much better. Lovely, I'll let that cool down, because during the meanwhile, always wanting to use the best hours of the day, I'm putting together another one of the Demat threadwear kits, which an American customer has ordered ready-made, which is always a joy. It's lovely sending off the kits as kits, but it's also lovely sending them off when I've had to make them. It's so enjoyable putting it all together, especially because I've built so many of them and obviously designed them in the first place that I couldn't know what I'm doing without having to read the instructions, which is good. Lovely. I forgot to cut the gears out. Luckily, I was able to get them all cut out of the middle bit. So that's good. I don't like wasting acrylic, especially thick acrylic. So, we've got the 4 gears. Brilliant. That's another exciting part to go into the recycling bin. Funnily enough, Dan was the one who paid for the postage for the last collection, and he's already made some amazing bits and pieces from it. This is a good example of the problems involved in turning a concept drawing into a real object. On Dan's original drawing, he had these cut out at one stage, and it was just too thin to have that. The plastic wouldn't have been able to cope with that. So, manual focus. So what I did in the end was to engrave them, which looks really nice. So that's good. This is all being cut out of 3mm acrylic, which is going to 3 on each side, so it's going to end up as 9mm thick, which should be substantial enough. And it means that I can have the engraving in the middle, so it looks like it's got a frame surrounding it, which will look nice as well. As always, as I've said before, because I'm going to have 3 of these layers next to each other, sandwiched up tight, I have cut them all slightly different sizes, intentionally I hasten to add, so that it looks like there is meant to be a 1mm step around between each one, and then it'll make it look really nice because it'll be more reminiscent of a brass casting, something like that. Interesting. As always with gears and such like, top tip, make the laser cut hole a little bit small, because quite often it doesn't, well, it's never vertical anyway, because the laser gets weaker as it goes through the material. Also, it can be slightly lopsided due to distortion, but if you make a little hole in the middle, then you can drill it out, and obviously clamp the work in place, you say, because you've cut your fingers so many times, you say, because the work suddenly flies off into oblivion. But no, dear friends, not with all those really sharp little teeth sticking out. So that's good. So now I know that that centre is 4mm diameter. Will I never learn? Probably not, actually. Just drilled out these to 3.3mm, then tapped them with the tap in the drill, the battery drill. And of course I didn't check their vertical. Oh, I don't need to check their vertical. And now look. How beautiful. Completely on the wall. There we are. Look at that. How appalling. And that one. Oh, I can't put up with that. These are going to form the drive shafts, or the axles, spindles for the gears. So they're going to support both halves of the thing as well, the lever, so they really need to be good. And they are not good. They're awful, so I'm cutting out another bit this time. Number B, and it worked because I actually looked at what I was doing and made sure it was vertical, so that's nice. Right, getting ready to start spraying things up, I think. This is all terribly because I think I'm ready to spray things now. I've got that bit, so these are the two sides which are going to have the wooden knob on the top, or on that end, fixed to a screw in another piece of plastic that's going to screw through. I've ordered it actually, one of the, what do you call them, file knobs, wooden knobs, so that's going to be nice when it's stained up. And then we have the nice looking middle bits with the two racks cut out on it, and I've sanded that just to make it look nice. And the pivot point on the bottom, which reminds me I must drill that out to 4. And these two, I'm so pleased with how they've come out with the line engraving, so a low power, high speed, lots of lines, 0.15mm apart. That looks absolutely gorgeous, other than the mist from my hands. Also the foggy sort of misty bits that the laser cutter caused around these engravings, I've used isopropyl alcohol in the past to get rid of it, but the problem is using isopropyl alcohol to cut things that to clean things that have been laser cut is it causes them to split and to crack around the edges, so I didn't want to do that. I found the methylated spirits worked perfectly, got the mist off, no cracking, nothing else. Really pleased. So that bit, here we are, there's one of the sides with the spacers to allow the whatever, then that goes on there, and then the smallest bit is going to go on there, and that will look lovely. I'm going to leave this clear and then spray these two outside ones. I was originally thinking about masking this, but I don't think it's necessary because it's laser cut, it's absolutely clear. And from past experiences, if you surround a piece with painted pieces, parts, you just see the colour through it, so it doesn't matter. And even if you did see it, I think it'll look interesting and fine. So that's nice, because obviously the budget need to work too closely. Right, stop talking, get things sprayed. I love this sort of project because you've got to think on your feet. I haven't got time to make tons and tons of prototypes and make mistakes, I hope, other than a few. I've just got to get on and hope my spatial awareness last night allowed me to design something that is actually going to fit together. Right, get that painted. It's an interesting collection of bits. It's sometimes quite interesting working out how to support stuff. In fact, I've just noticed on the original drawing this is meant to be copper, so, and that. These bits just stuck with little bits of masking tape, and then on one of my prongs, the gears, so I'll get them sprayed up then. There we are, lovely brassy parts and lovely brassy gears. And I realised just before I painted it that this bit, which supports the control knob, is actually copper on the drawing, so I've painted this copper and also glued it together just so it's all in one piece, so I could radius the ends there. And a copper thumb. Oh, lovely. Might do my whole hands actually. Back from walking the dog, and here's a very good example of why I don't like using the copper or the silver. The brass sets really nice and quickly and thin and doesn't get all clogged up. Despite having done the normal thing about spraying a coat, 2 coats on it, it's really thick at the bottom, as you can see. That's going to take days to dry, so what I'm going to do, I think, is to wipe it off and then use a piece of the self-adhesive silver duct tape that I've got just to make a little decal thing around the end. All is not lost. Also started working on the bottom bit, the wooden bit, which is going to go like that and support all the bits. So I'm going to make the twiddlies, the twiddly-diddlies, out of a piece of this, which I've already stained because it just means I don't have to worry about the glue getting on it, as I've said before. Otherwise, teach you a little bit of glue once you glue it together, sticking out, and then the stain doesn't cover it. And this is ridiculous. I mean, what is this? This is meant to be a file handle, not for a model file, but for a real file. How ridiculous. Why do they have to make miniatures of everything? I'm going to have to use one of my own ones then. Stupid. I mean, this is going to start the TARDIS working. dematerializing. You can't have some pathetic poxy little thing like that. It's the next day and this has dried, and having hard about this, I in the end decided to cut out 2 pieces of the metallic card I've got and stick them on to cover that bit, having sanded down the bit where I'd scraped the paint off yesterday. What a palaver, but that looks really nice. I did consider using red felt, but then I thought, well, that's going to get dirty and also it's going to have fluffy edges and just doesn't look quite right. Also considered using this self-adhesive lure tape, which I used to make flames, but that just looks completely out of character. I did briefly consider the self-adhesive aluminium tape, but that didn't look right either. So in the end, it was this lovely metallic card. Brilliant stuff. It's got so much metal on it that if you bend it, it will actually just stay where you put it. It's brilliant. Now to start putting everything together. I'm going to try and get all these together, screwed together. Anyway, I'll show you what happens. It is so exciting. It really is. Love it. It's coming together beautifully so far. They're the side panels, and you can see I've stepped them out. So the back one's slightly higher. Then you've got the transparent one, which looks lovely put in there. And then you've got the front one, and that just looks fabulous. Very pleased with that. So there's the 2 sides, and then most excitingly, personally speaking, I've got this assembled, and look, oh, the joy. It sticks there, never mind, I'll trim a little bit off. Look at that. I am so pleased with that. That works beautifully. Oh, it's just, I might just stand here and do this for quite a long time. It's held apart away from the centre, so it's not going to rub there. The gears turn beautifully because the laser cutter cuts slightly thinner near the top as it gets weaker through the plastic. I've swapped the gears round so the higher side here corresponds to the lower side here, and it just works a treat. Oh, look at that. Fantastic. And the pivot and the shine and oh. So now, really excitingly, it's time to start putting all these together with the wooden base. Oh, I'll get back to you shortly. Cutting out felt or anything without using the laser cutter, what could be going on? Well, dear friends, I realised that because the laser cutter does cut felt so well, but it makes a sort of melted edge. If you're using it as to reduce friction, it doesn't. So I've had to trim off the edges on things before. So this time, masking tape, bit of felt, pair of scissors, Bob's your uncles, funny's your aunts. This I'm going to glue on there. I made it round because I think it looks nice, and one on either side will ensure that this doesn't bang into the outside edges. That's right, and we'll keep it vertical. The things we do for a decent wooden handle. I've taken it off one of my files after that stupid little one, and I put it on the lathe, filled up the hole where the tang of the file went with a piece of dowel. So now I'm going to sand it because it's lovely and used. It just needs to be stained the same colour as the rest of it. I've just had a cunning plan. Here's the base, and I've glued the 2 sides, and I was trying to work out, because in effect when this, and I'm so pleased with that, when this sits in the base, such as, well, exactly like that, let's just sit that down the middle like that, there we are. I was thinking, well, as you know, I don't like to glue things together so that they can't possibly be got apart again. All this is still screwed together. I haven't glued most of the bits, so if something did go wrong, it'd be possible to take it apart. And I'm very pleased with those 2 felt things. Look at that. And I found out why it was clicking, because there was a little bit of sprue, bit of plastic sticking out on the side of one of the gears. That is just gorgeous. Right, so stop doing that. It's unnatural. So what I realised was, because there's 2 holes here, because I didn't continue the little stepped out bits, I can drill 2 holes and they line up with the thickest piece of this wood. So I can have 2 little brass screws, because I've got some small ones, that come up from underneath at both ends, and that will hold it into place. Fantastic! And then, should Dan want to get it apart to correct it, unscrew them, take them off, and then it'll lift out. Also means, which is really good and prompted the idea, because I'm not quite sure, he was talking about using rosewood, I think, for the TARDIS panels. I haven't got any rosewood, so I've stained it a sort of generic dark colour, and you can put other stains on top, so to enable him to be able to stain it the perfect colour if he needs to, or to add varnish or whatever else. So I'm just going to leave it with 1 coat on, and again that means if he lifts it out he can then get to all the wooden parts to stain them a slightly different colour if need be. I am very pleased. Let's just look at the side of it. Oh look, isn't that? It's a joy. I'm so pleased with that. All the gears turning. It's just lovely when something that you've designed really, well, not quickly, but haven't spent an age over, comes together. And I've got the knob stained as well, so hopefully in a few shots time that will appear screwed onto that bit. Oh, and I've stained my fingers. How lovely. There we are. 2 little screws there and there, A and B. Hold it together and da da da. We have a knob. I am really pleased with that. This looks fantastic. I'm very pleased with the woodwork on that. It just beautifully holds that in place, and it's just like it was on Dan's conceptual drawing. And then it's just lovely. Oh. And again, I absolutely love about designing and building things like this. From whatever angle you look at it, you just see beauty. Sounds very pretentious, but for example, I was just noticing those curves down inside. Again, you know, it's just lovely that the 2 gears meet in. And I love these engravings as well. It's a beautiful design, the concept by Dan. It's fantastic. There comes a time when only a micro switch will do. So it's rugged, it's solid, it's reliable, it's a positive action, and it just works beautifully like this. I don't have to build all sort of extra enclosures and things. This means, in effect, this is finished. Of course it's not finished, how dare I? Stupid steamhead. It hasn't got the label on the front in Gallifreyan. Dan sent me a font, which is very exciting. It's my first non-English, I think, possibly done some other normal languages, but never Gallifreyan. So we've got it set up. This is only going to be 12mm high, so it's going to be absolutely minute, hence the fact I'm going to engrave it with a raster engraving, because then you can get such good quality. Let's try that now. I've cleaned it with isopropyl alcohol, that's it, and I'm very pleased. Really incredibly fine lines, and it's managed pretty well, all of them, so that's nice. Now I've got these 2 little screws, again, as always, slot doomed, none of your Posi-Drive or Phillips here, and we can fix that like the drawing, the conceptual drawing, something like that. That would be nice, wouldn't it? There we are, and voila! A beautiful Gallifreyan sign, label, saying Demat. Thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you next time, when hopefully I'll be building something else really exciting and fascinating. Excellent. Thanks again. Oh, and remember to subscribe if you like these videos. Always does me the world of good to know that people are appreciating it and stuff.